Here we go. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. We were kind of concerned if we would have a quorum, but I see we have our diligence, so thank you all for coming. The public hearing, we're going to start the Committee of Infrastructure public hearing tonight on the street petition for street acceptance on Adelaide Avenue and Pendant Lane. And the meeting has started at 7 p.m., so will the clerk please call the roll?
Yes, Chairman O'Brien.
Present.
Alderman Schmidt is here, it was me, and Ernest Jetty. Here. And Ken Gidge is out tonight. Also, Alderman Lopez. Mm-hmm. We also have Alderman Klee and Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Okay. Alderman Gidge and Alderman Lopez have been properly excused. At this time, we'll open the petition for street acceptance for Adelaide Avenue and Pendant Lane. And for the benefit of those in the chamber, we did bring it up. And we can see we do have Alderman Klee present, which we're very grateful for. It's her ward, Ward 3. So would you like to give us some information on that, Alderman?
This was a fairly new complex that they had built. Adelaide has existed for a number of years. That's on the corner of Concord Street. The first few homes on both the right and the left side of that street have existed for a while. They built, as you can see, from 8 all the way down to Birchwood, and the same on the other side. Pendant is a brand new street. Adelaide existed in theory from that point on, but there was something that blocked the road, and it was not paved all the way through. When these new homes went up a couple of years ago, they paved it all the way through. They put sidewalks on the even side of the street, and then they built Pendant, which goes, as you can see there in that cul-de-sac.
Right, that little.
Yeah. They're cute little homes.
All right, well, thank you very much, Alderman. All right, we'll take now from the public testimony in favor. If anybody would like to speak in favor of the street acceptance of Adelaide Avenue and Pendant Lane, please come forward. Seeing nobody. We'll now close the testimony in favor. We'll now open up testimony in opposition. Seeing no one in the chamber, we will close the first round of testimony in opposition and start the second round of testimony in favor. Last call of testimony in favor, seeing none. We'll close the testimony in favor, and then we'll go to testimony in opposition. Seeing none, we will close the testimony in opposition. Alderman Jetty, do you have a motion to adjourn this committee?
Yes.
Thank you.
We adjourn.
Public, we do have a motion from Alderman Jetty to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. We'll close the hearing at 7:04. If we can remain seated, I don't see, without objection, we just can go into the regular meeting of the Committee on Infrastructure. So without further ado, still 7:04, we'll call the Committee of Infrastructure, convene it. It's Wednesday, April 24, 2019, at 7:04 p.m. in the automatic chamber. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman at Large Michael O'Brien.
Present.
Alderman Jan Schmidt. Alderman Ernest Jetty.
Here.
Also in the room, we have Alderman Klee and Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Very good. And again, Alderman Gidge and Alderman Lopez have been properly excused. Public comment. Seeing nobody in attendance, we'll end public comment. Communications.
We have none.
Petitions.
A petition for street acceptance, Adelaide Avenue and Pendant Lane.
Does the clerk have a motion?
I recommend to grant petition for street acceptance for Adelaide Avenue and Pendant Lane.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Alderman Clay.
I just have one question. In this petition, does that mean that the city, then it becomes one of the plowable streets and so on? Is that the way this would work? Is that part of I have a feeling they've been doing
Right,
it
by
as
accepting, it'll
already, yeah,
become
but by
part of,
accepting it becomes.
right. As you so eloquently pointed out, during construction, it was phased in.
Mm-hmm.
And the buildings went up and paving and different things, probably met by the obligations by the zoning board and everything, and that work was done. And right now, it's going to be the acceptance of the city on
Okay,
it.
thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? Alderwoman Gathright?
I don't know if I can ask a question. It's just about that. Why did we have to accept it? I just don't understand why you had to accept this street that's already there. Does that make sense?
Alderman Fredette, do you want to take a crack at that? We do have, Alderman Fredette, please, you're welcome. Please sit down.
Based on my knowledge, I don't know if this is working, but based on my knowledge, it's not a public street until it's formally accepted by the
Accepted,
city.
right.
This will go to the full board and they'll vote on it at the next
Still owned by the
meeting.
construction.
It's
Right.
not
Still
a
owned by the
public
developer.
street until it's
Developer.
accepted.
Developer.
It's owned by the developer.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Right.
I would
Yeah.
think since, in order to build, didn't they have to go through zoning and all the other stuff? You know what I
Right.
mean?
But it
Wow.
remains at that particular
Yeah.
time a private way
Okay, all right.
until the petition comes up from the people who live there and everything that wish this to become now
Part of the city.
part of the
Wow.
city, which will
That's
give us,
amazing.
will give them entitlements to what normally happens within the streets, such as plowing and
Yeah,
maintenance and everything. So I guess the zoning board and everything, most of the stuff has made up as far as the infrastructure on the road has been, done. And so now it's ready for us to accept it.
They really do it for the protection of the homeowners because they all get a letter formally that they're having this public hearing. And if they have concerns about the street, they come and they speak. So apparently, there's no concerns, but sometimes you can have a lot of people on a new street come and speak about problems on the new street.
oh, wow. So how old is the street?
It's only, excuse me.
Alderman Clee?
Thank you. It's probably about 2 years. Pennant probably is a little about a year and a half or so, maybe 2 years now, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's, the first part of Adelaide has been in existence for a very long time.
That's right.
But not the last half of it. So the part that was up to Concord Street, like about where number 6 is to Concord Street.
So, kind of follow up, it's just a statement, actually. I think it was 85, when my street was kind of like this, but I never knew there was a hearing or something to go to when they accepted the street. You know what I mean?
Right.
I've never heard of that before. So it's new to me. And I was just curious as how this was working, because I kind of went through the same thing. It was a new development, new street, but I never got anything to go to a hearing to
Right.
accept the street.
Well,
I'm
as
sure it
you-
happened.
Right, as you know,
know.
familiar with your neighborhood, that's why that turn is a little bit,
That's right. That
funny
that
in a
section
way.
there, right? Yeah.
at one time, that was like a, cul-de-sac and, but that was the
No, it was,
responsibility of
nothing
the,
but
of the
trees
builder.
and mud and all
And
that
then
other
they
stuff.
decided to incorporate in addition.
Yeah,
And
wow.
we get into that,
Amazing.
then there's also certain areas for fire reasons that, for the fire department, that they come in and they have access roads that can get into some developments so they can get up. And there's one in particular in the south end that comes to mind. It's one of the only ways that the ladder company can get in there because of the size of the vehicle. You need that size. But it's the entrance off the Daniel Webster Highway. If it goes up the traditional way, the rear tailboard of the ladder truck scrapes on the street. So it's certain things. So when you accept a street, it does have some responsibility to make sure that it is approved.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
So this is my first time here, so
No,
getting a
very,
lesson.
very well, very good questions. It's the way we do it, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
thank you, too.
So, any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of
Aye.
acceptance, Adelaide Ave and Pendant Lane, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Unfinished business,
We have none.
new business resolutions.
We have Resolution 19-130, authorizing the sale of tax deeded property located at 4.5 through 6 Canal Street.
All right, let's see if,
Let me see.
Oh, well, didn't bring it up, but,
Yeah, you have to go towards the downtown
Yeah.
area, yeah, right.
we'll do,
Broad Street Parkway. Right? Is it
No,
right
no,
by
No,
no,
there?
no,
it's Canal, it's over by where Margarita's is, that area.
yeah.
It's off of
Let's
Main.
orientate and we'll see.
Which
Please,
property
there's
is that?
Chandler
The old cattleman?
and there's Canal. And,
Yeah, that's also my ward.
okay, and I think this is
Yeah,
the area that we're
Yes,
talking
yeah,
about? Yep, very good, yeah.
yeah, you see 4 right there, 4.5, yeah, 6.
All right, so R 19-130 is authorizing the sale of tax deeded property at 4.5 to 6 Canal Street. Do I have a motion?
I move for final passage, move to recommend final passage.
Very good. Any discussion on the motion?
Could we hear, since the treasurer is here, could we hear something?
Treasurer is here. Would the
From him?
treasurer like to come forward to give us a brief summation, please?
Yeah, it will be very brief. As the resolution says, this was a tax deeded property about a year and a half ago. And it's the intent of Director Cummins to issue an RFP in trying to keep the historic look of the building with the RFP requirements. So until he issues that, we'll have to see who responds to it and what are their plans. But that is his plan, is to issue an RFP for that building.
Further questions?
So maybe I'm out of date on this observation, but the last time I noticed that property, there were a lot of trucks and cars and things parked on it. And if the city owns it, I'm wondering who those trucks belong to, who those cars belong to, what.
I don't know, the last I knew, there was no trucks or anything parked on it. There was, similar to the place on West Hollis, there were some people who, because the home was boarded up, there were some people that got inside there and were starting a fire to keep warm and that kind of thing, but I wasn't aware of any trucks on the lot. I don't go by it every day, so I can't.
May I?
Yes.
I
Alderman
don't,
Flake.
I don't recall seeing any vehicles or anything like that. I know we had an issue with vagrants and people kind of moving in there and so on, and Mr. Cummings took care of that, and the police have been noticing. I don't know, I'm wondering if, do you believe, it's with that yellow houses where, and you're saying that you believe that you saw vehicles and so on there?
I don't remember the color of the house, but I remember
The bright yellow.
in the in the arrow part of that triangle, I remember vehicles. It
Yeah.
it may have been a few years ago, but I thought it was recent.
I know that they were going in there and boarding back up because it had been done that, so I'm wondering if maybe you saw that kind of activity. That was just a few months ago, right?
Oh,
When-
yeah,
yeah.
sooner than that.
Yeah, it's been, I think, within the past month, because I got that phone call on that. So I know when I drove by, I didn't see any vehicles there, but that doesn't mean that when you went, there weren't cars there. But no one's lived there for a while.
It doesn't really matter. We're moving in the right direction, I think.
Well, yeah, as the chair would be, and my question to Mr. Fedett, this will take what was probably vacant property, not on the tax rolls because of that. It has been a derelict building. There has been a couple of fires in it that I know. I've had a couple myself there. This is the hope, by selling this deed, it will get back on the tax roll and become a productive property in the city, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Yes, so it's the betterment, right?
Yes.
Very good. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. When the clerk is ready. Further new business resolution.
Resolution 19-131, authorizing the granting of an easement on Nashua Millyard Associates Incorporated over land located at 2 Pine Street Extension.
Please bear with me as I do my computer slide here.
Well, I'm going to recommend for final passage while you're doing that.
Very good. We do have a motion by Alderman Schmidt for final passage. And Pine Street Extension number 2 is 3. Not really too sure where 2 is.
There's 1 through 3, so it's
Right.
probably in that one?
Right in this area here.
Yeah, easement.
Okay. Seeing any questions on the motion? Okay, seeing none? Yes, Alderman Jettie.
Yeah, I'd like to know what exactly we're talking about. Do we, I guess no one's here to tell us and we don't know.
No, as I look, it's the prime sponsor is the mayor, and granting an easement to the Nashua Mill Yard Associates over land located at 2 Pine Street Extension. Let me just to make sure that we're in the right geographical area.
May I?
Yes, you may.
If I remember correctly, it was something to do with putting in a fire pump easement in through that area.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that
It is, that's what it says. The city was obligated to construct, install, and connect a new fire pump and connect it to the mill yard's existing fire system.
that's what I was looking for. I thought I had read that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Very good.
And it's already been done, by the way.
Yeah.
But it's just the easement of the property. I think they had to
Yeah.
put it in.
And
It's
so
acceptance
that
of
you
the
know
easement.
that fire pump is critical,
Right.
has some form of another been there since the mill yard was built. Supplies to several of the mill yard and hydrants within the area, though it has been modified over time, but still very much an asset. So this has a lot to do with the public safety and fire protection of the area.
And
Yes,
yet-
Alderman Jettie.
But, Mr. Chairman, the area that you were indicating is really Pine Street. Pine Street Extension is really towards the top of that,
No,
yeah,
it's
left.
off the page.
to the
isn't
left
it?
there.
It's the one down. that way.
Pine Street
Isn't that
Extension
right there
here.
as the extension? No?
Yeah.
Number 2 Pine
And this
Street
is-
Extension. There's
Because the
one.
extension is right there to the left. If you go
Yeah.
up. Yeah, right there.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, yeah. But I see 1. I don't know where 2
Yeah,
would
we're
be.
looking for 2.
Yeah. I see 1 and 3. So 2's got to be, see where 0 is?
I see 1C.
1C. I
Right.
see 5.
Hmm.
Let me see if I can't go.
It's on here.
The old fire pump used to be in this area, but a lot of it has changed with the Broad Street Parkway. So in seeing that, Alderman Gathright, could you read that ordinance again
Oh,
I
okay.
have it here.
It's,
for us? Or Alderman Clee, could you please read it?
Sure. It says the City of Nashua Municipal Corporation, 229 Main Street, Nashua, New Hampshire, granted for consideration grants the Nashua Mill Yard Associates Incorporated, a New Hampshire corporation having a usual place of business at Pine Street Extension, and gives a P.O. box. The following described easement over, under, and across land of the grantor located 2 Pine Street Extension, Nashua, Hillsborough County, and shown as proposed utility easement on plan entitled, it leaves that blank, date leaves it blank, which plan recorded the Hillsborough County Registry of Deeds. Inserts in there. It says said easement contains 1,569 square feet more or less, fire pump utility easement. Grantee owns a certain fire pump and all accessories and related accessories. The connection of the fire pump to the grantee's fire suppression system and the grantee's fire suppression system on the land, together the fire pump, grantor grants to grantee an easement over, under, and across the land in the easement area as may be responsibly necessary for or advisable for grantee to use, operate, maintain, repair, replace a fire pump. Grantee bears sole responsibility for the use, operation, maintenance, repair, and replacement of the fire pump in a safe manner and in compliance with all applicable laws and regulations, and shall be solely responsible for the costs associated with the same. Grantee agrees and undertakes to hold grantor and its successors free and harmless from any loss, damage, expense, including costs and reasonable attorney's fees or liability which grantor may incur as a result of any claims or actions which are or may be made arising out of grantee's rights granted hereunder or failure of grantee to comply with its responsibilities hereunder. Excuse me. There's about 4 or 5 more little paragraphs here. Grantees shall restore the disturbed area following any disturbance caused by the grantee or its agents on the land. Grantee, except as structures already exist, shall not construct or erect any structures over, under, or on the easement area. Grantee shall access the easement area only via the area marked fire pump access on the plan or via a route which grantor, in its sole discretion, may determine and communicate to grantee in writing. Grantee shall allow access the easement area to use, operate, maintain, repair, or replace a fire pump. This easement shall be governed exclusively by the laws of the state of New Hampshire, and any claim or action brought relating to this easement shall be brought in Hillsborough County, New Hampshire Superior Court, Judicial, Nashua, and not elsewhere. The land is a portion of the premise conveyed to grantor by tax deed dated April 17, 1991, and recorded Hillsborough County Registry of Deeds at Book 5250 page. And then there's just the signatures. I'm assuming that we are the grantee and they are the grantor. So it gives us permission to come on and take care of that fire pump.
Correct. All right.
I think it's just the opposite.
Oh,
We
you
are the
do?
grantor,
We're the grantor, okay.
and they're the grantee.
I bow to your knowledge as a legal person.
But it seems to have a safety factor to it with the
Right.
fire pump, and sounds like it's of critical need. Alderman Jettie?
I want to thank Alderman Clee for reading that
She-
resolution for us.
Over, under thing, yeah.
I know the
think,
over, under.
I'm just gonna do the analysis.
She may have another, future life as clerk of the court.
There you go, there you go.
Obviously, the committee needs help, and we appreciate your
I
help.
too would like to echo Alderman Jettie. Fine job, thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
I do
But-
voiceover work, yeah.
If I could.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm not going to hold this up. It sounds like what we're doing is correct, and I guess if we find out it isn't, the full board can deal with it. But
This is
I just
correct,
would like to make a comment that when I don't know who's responsible for this. I'm assuming the mayor's office is the endorser. I'm assuming it comes from them. But I would encourage anybody from the administration that is asking us to do something, that they make sure that we know what it is that they're asking so that we can deal with these things. Maybe everyone else is comfortable, but I'm a little uncomfortable not knowing exactly what this is all about. It's not, after hearing Alderman Clee read the resolution, I feel comfortable that this is, that we're okay doing this. But it does happen fairly often that we're at a committee, we're all spending time here, and there's no one from the administration explaining what it is that they're requesting. And I just would encourage them to, in the future, make sure that there's somebody here to explain these things to us. That's just my personal wish.
And point well taken, that is a fair request, but also too, the information is there as such as what Alderman Clee and Alderman Gathright did provide, that we can all research the resolutions, and to have it. But it would make it simple if somebody did come in with some, Usually sometimes the chair receives more graphics and everything, but this was kind of Spartan agenda, so I don't know, but I will look into it. And your point is, like I say, not without some merit, so I'll discuss it and we'll see.
Thank you.
But I feel comfortable, particularly where it's in need of a fire pump, that this has very high safety factor to it, so I feel comfortable in passing this at
Yeah,
this time.
we could have
Yeah.
used a photograph or a picture to help us understand,
Right.
because it's,
Yeah.
it's difficult to find it this way, but I think you're right. I think this is,
Well, I know they did change the area, like I say, the fire pump was down here by where the former Keystone Hall was, and that's all been changed with the
can you
Broad
click-
Street
click on
Parkway.
that little arrow down there? No, in the box.
What, yeah.
There's a way to expand this, to give you a look at what the buildings are.
That's the one right there.
So, this is Pine Street Extension,
Mhm.
so I think it's right in here.
When you click on that, does anything come up? Oftentimes it does if you're looking at the GIS.
That's owned by Bagshaw.
Yeah,
Okay,
This,
that plot right there, yeah, where you are.
that's
That's
the Milliard Associates, yeah,
Association.
so it's right in here.
That's it, right there,
Mhm.
that's two.
That's all I can guess. Back to you, boss.
no, fine, you did a fine job. I just want to see is,
Yeah, that's the Milliard,
yeah,
yeah.
that technology way, okay. All right, very good, like I say, used to be over here somewhere one time.
And all that change
Yeah.
over there, I
Ordinance is
imagine.
19,
Yeah,
so-
now that's a
Okay.
consulting firm. Mm-hmm.
1931.
All changed. You know.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, we have a motion of final passage. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. We do have table in committee, which will remain on the table, 01936, designating an additional section of Bauer Street, one-way easterly. I can give a very brief synopsis of this by working on this. It's one of those things, by taking one piece of the puzzle, you're moving several other pieces. So where this involves a congested area with Southern New Hampshire Medical Facility, we are, it's still a work in progress. Yes, Alderman Clay.
I just want to make a comment on that. One of my doctors, my rheumatologist, is in the old Y building. And when they found out that I was an alderman, one of the things that they talked to me about was the dangers on Bauer Street, and the sooner that something can be resolved. Now, I'm not saying to rush anything, but the people that work there are not necessarily residents of, but they've had some very near misses and accidents, and so it's quite concerning when I hear these kind of conversations. I don't travel in that area too much to experience it myself, but I've had more than one person approach me from that
Yeah.
that organization. So
Alderman Gathright.
I guess I was just trying to understand why they wanted to make it a one-way. So it's just that one block?
Very narrow.
it's narrow.
I know, I know
The
exactly where it is, 'cause
proposal,
I used to go to the Y all the time years
Right.
ago.
the proposal
But
was
it's just
brought
that-
forward
Is it just
by
that block, though?
Alderman Lopez. It does have a couple other sponsors. In the original hearing, what happened was one of these things, information didn't get out to all stakeholders. I contacted some of the stakeholders, and they shown keen interest and made us aware that, again, this is by changing the Bauer Street and satisfying the needs of residents in Southern New Hampshire, which happens to be just how busy they are, the fourth largest employer in the city. It's something that we need to carefully take a look at and keep the area safe and through traffic and everything else. So we're trying to balance the needs of the original petitioner, who had residential property as, the residence as his focus, but at the same time, as we search these matters, we got to encumber the business community, in this case, Southern New Hampshire Medical. So we got to look at it in the whole thing, so, and see where we're at. Yes, Alderman Schmidt.
You said that perfectly, and I think one more thing, if we make one small change over there, it could really cause a lot of trouble.
Right, that's why I was
And
asking the
so,
question.
so it needs to be very planful for the whole area, and it is being worked on, but we really can't pass this until we really have a plan going forward. Thank you.
So
Stays
That's-
on the table.
that's where we are, folks. Okay. Any other?
Again,
Yes.
which block is it that they were trying to do, like, when you come out of, where Shaw's, what's that street called? You know, when you come out the little, on Shaw's,
Yeah, that's Fletcher.
that's Fletcher.
Fletcher
So
Way,
Bowers,
but
the next
this
little
is,
street over.
right, this.
So
um,
where does, what, I guess what block they were trying to make the changes to one-way?
Just Bowers, the whole length of Bowers.
Yeah,
Really? Because Bowers go all the way to the school, Bowers go all the way through to,
this,
no,
Alderman Gathright, if you look to see, and you gotta keep in mind that the
where? Where am I looking?
aerial, right here. See, it was
17.
17.
All the way over to 1.5 or whatever it is.
Right. Well, the original petitioner was looking at this point, Dearborn Street,
Okay,
which will go down to Harbor Avenue. Okay, this is Prospect Street up here, so you can orientate yourself. Number 8 is Southern New Hampshire,
okay.
and pretty much
So
a lot of this area is part of the Southern New Hampshire campus in general.
Okay.
So that would include number 17, where my cursor is.
Right, which is the
That
old
is the area that was the former Y, that has
Okay.
now been incorporated into Southern New Hampshire.
Okay, because Bowers, keep going, Bowers goes over, because Bowers goes to St. Chris, what's the
Right.
elementary school?
That section is not
Is
at
not
this particular
included
time.
in this.
But
Notice it's wider too.
this
No, it's
is,
not.
right.
My point is, the reason why I asked, because that's residents too. Matter of fact, my granddaughter's grandmother, all of them live over there, right across from the school.
right.
And that's right now a two-way.
If you read the original petition did mention from Dearborn to Harbor
Okay.
Avenue.
Yep.
Okay,
I see.
but in looking at, like I say, is the traffic around Prospect. It's the complete Bowers. Right now, people do come down in an easterly direction down Bowers Street,
Both ways.
okay?
Yeah.
And they can continue easterly down to All Street.
That part of
There's one.
Bowers is a
Right.
two-way there.
Right here.
Yeah.
And
that's
you can
two-way.
go all the way down to Crown Street.
Yeah. And all the way down to the dead end, which is where the school is.
Right. Did I say Crown Street? Excuse me. I'm thinking of the Crown Hill Station. I meant to
You're
say
talking
Arlington Street.
yeah.
Which was on, the Crown Hill Station was on Arlington Street.
Yeah, okay.
But it is one way from Arlington east to certain areas. No, from Arlington Street west. So,
No,
like I
from-
say, the whole.
It's not, it's two-way.
The whole area, but I think the focused area, that is
Yeah.
what is brought some concerns, I'm guessing, would be the
That area.
area, I think it's these houses from 21 to 37
Okay.
was the original intent. And,
And the lot that's across
Right.
from 17 is also part of Southern New
and
Hampshire.
it's not only that, it's parking. And then to look at, some of these houses were originally designed and built as two-family homes, but now they come into multifaceted. multiple.
More cars.
And if
More
each
parking.
was once a two-family home with two cars, now comes into several occupants now bringing their vehicles. And in some of the testimony that Mr. Cody did bring up from southern New Hampshire, he did try to be a good neighbor with some of the parking, but unfortunately, it didn't have a positive, longevity to it. Some people did abuse the privilege. So this came down to, I think the genesis of this was parking. Like, we can confirm that. I recommend that you have conversations with the original sponsor, Alderman Lopez. But I think that was part of the genesis, and then looking and then trying to solve that and everything else, and one ways and everything else, it gets into something else. Because they did at number 17, if you look right where my cursor is, that is an entrance to Bauer Street. And the reason is for this parking area here, which is for staff and additional patrons or patients for getting to number 17 for procedures. So we're taking a good,
Taking our time.
microscopic view of this, and trying to come up with the right solution. And, it's pretty good. All stakeholders have been in a couple meetings, and so we're getting there, but, nothing, not ready for prime time yet. Further questions on the table motion of 019-036? Seeing none, general discussion.
I'm good.
How about them Bruins? They pulled Game 7,
You got
which
home in time,
always makes me very happy to, seventh game in the Game 7, sudden death in the NHL, nothing better. All right, seeing no other comments on general discussion, public comment. Seeing nobody in attendance, remarks from Alderman.
Nope.
Seeing none, there's no need for a possible non-public session. Alderman Jettie, is there a motion?
I move to adjourn.
There's a motion to adjourn by Alderman Jettie. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? We will adjourn at 7:38. Thank you all.